All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome. So my name is Jazz. I own a business called Vegan Bites by Jazz. And I started my business because in my family, there are a lot of different just like diseases that ran in the family from diabetes, different type of cancers. And I found a lot of research about how a lot of these things start with food and the things that you're eating. And so I grew up eating a lot of really good tasting food, but that wasn't always the healthiest for me. And so I took on a challenge. I watched a documentary called What the Health. Has anybody seen it? Anybody? Okay, okay. I watched that documentary, and from that point, I was like, okay, I'm done eating meat, and I want to take on the challenge and figure out how can I make the food that I grew up eating taste well with different alternatives and making plant-based options. So that's how my business started, and that is just like my inspiration behind my food. I grew up in Chicago, Illinois, but my family is from the South. So they are from like North Carolina, Maryland, South Carolina area. So lots of flavors and foods. So that's the inspiration that I draw from when I cook. So today we're going to make a vegan Rotel dip. Does anybody eat Rotel or had it before? Anybody? Rotel? Okay, great. So definitely Rotel is a creamy, cheesy dish, but it's from a lot of just like preservative, a lot of different things that aren't great for you. The cheese, Velveeta cheese is usually the base that comes not even cold. So you know that it comes from a lot of preservatives and different things. So I took on the challenge as I do with all my different meals and see how can I make this vegan. And so I'm going to share this recipe with you guys. And it's actually also what we have today over there. Has anybody had it today? One. Yes. She said it's very good. So you're in for a treat. Okay, so let me get our heat running. Okay. Now, inductions are tricky because they don't like the pots always, but I brought my induction pot. Mm-mm-mm. Okay, it's working now. Great. Okay, so I did the hard work, so nobody has to watch me chop vegetables. Chopping vegetables takes forever. So that's one of the challenges, being vegan and being plant based. There are a lot of vegetables, a lot of chopping. But my first thing that I use, and I use this a lot, mushrooms for my meat replacement. I like all types of mushrooms. Most of the time, I'm using an oyster mushroom or a lion's mane mushroom, and then sometimes for the affordability of the dish, using a white mushroom, and of course a portobello mushroom. So these right here are white mushrooms that I have diced, and then we start with that. And I think the recipe should be available for you guys. They asked me for copies, so you should be able to get it. I'm not sure from who, but we can find out. But yes, so first we add our mushrooms. Um, and then thank you. Mushrooms create a lot of water if you cook with it. So sometimes I use the oil, sometimes I don't. But usually the mushrooms will make their own water and start to brown as the water cooks out of it. So then our next thing is mixed bell peppers. So this is just orange and red bell peppers. Sometimes I use green and orange. Don't really have a preference, but I always use bell peppers and then red onions. And a lot of your colored fruits and vegetables have a lot of more vitamins and minerals in them. So I try to use red onion most of the time. And then we want this to saute down some. See if I can turn our heat up a little bit. Okay, so for taco seasoning, I love this brand. It's called Siete. They make tons of gluten-free options, whole 30 paleo diet, which basically means they use clean ingredients. So it's not a lot of, they don't use any additives or GMOs or anything like that. And so something being vegan, I always just realized one when I first went vegan, seeing like, oh, there's milk in this, and I never knew that would be milk in something. You know, like even in a taco seasoning, like some people you'll see dairy in it, and it's just like, why? And then from there, just going more and more plant based, seeing that some items just like have additives or preservatives that aren't really necessary, and so Siete is a really good brand that doesn't use a lot of additives, and I found Siete seasonings at a lot of different places. So from Meyer, Walmart carries it too, Whole Foods, a lot of different places. So this is the spicy pack. I always use in my recipe one spicy and one mild. I like a little kick, but not a lot of it. And since I'm a chef and I cook for other people, I understand that everybody doesn't like spicy. So I try to um, make a meal that can tailor to different people's taste buds. So that's starting to cook down. It looks good already, doesn't it? Okay, so that is the beginning of our base, and then from there, we let that cook down a little more because it's starting to form the water in it, and I like um, that's to cook out, and for my mushrooms to brown a little more. Adding the seasoning to it does help because it's creating water, and there's also seasoning in it, so it'll help it brown faster. Okay, the next things that I add to it um, is a vegan sour cream. So this one is by Foragers. This is the healthiest that I've found. Sometimes I do make my own, but when I want to be convenient, I find the plant-based product. Um, I found this product at a lot of different stores as well. What's really good about this one that it does have probiotics in it, which is, means it's really good for your gut. So it's not just a sour cream that's plant-based. It also has some factors in it that are going to help your gut and help you digest easier. Which a lot of vegan food does have a lot of fiber, so that's a really great thing. But also adding those extra things to make sure everything is digesting well is great. So I'm gonna add the whole container of this. All right, it's starting to cook like I wanted to. Okay, the next thing is a vegan cream cheese, as well as the foragers. This is a more plant-based option. Like I said, going more plant-based, I'm always looking through ingredients. Some things that aren't always the best and the healthiest for you are different gums like xanthan gum and different things like that, which sometimes is in a lot of vegan cheeses. So I'm looking for different items that don't have a lot of additives and preservatives. So BioLife, um, the cream cheese at least doesn't have a lot of those things. Well, it doesn't have any. Um, but what I found being vegan, like you just have to look at everything because sometimes like a brand can make one thing that doesn't have this, but another that does. So I'm always looking through the ingredients. Another brand that I also use in this recipe is now, if I don't say it right, it's okay, but it's called Myokos or something like that. And they have a lot of whole food, plant-based options for cheeses as well. So don't quote me on how that's said. So we're gonna let this cream cheese melt down and let all the ingredients bind together. And to aid in that process, I'm going to add some of my liquids. So I use um, vegetable broth. Um, like I said, there should be recipe somewhere that actually has the measurements. I don't measure anymore because I have the recipe in my head. But I always go for items that have low salt or no salt because if you keep building on the sodium, like it's not gonna be good for you, even though it is plant based. So this is a brand that I found that doesn't do any sodium in their vegetable broth. So Bonafide is what it's called, and it has no salt added. Um, I add a fourth to a half a cup of vegetable broth, just adding in on those flavors. And then this is the brand milk that I use. It's the organic kind. This is at a lot of stores. Like I said earlier, a lot of times you have to just look at ingredients to find the healthiest options, even in the same brand, because this brand does make milks that do have some preservatives or some gums in it. But I found that their organic kind only has the ingredients that are supposed to be in it. Like this is a coconut milk, so it only has water, coconut cream, coconut water, and baking soda. So that's a natural preservative. Um, I use coconut milk. Because it's a creamier milk. So, and it cooks in things well. So, for a cheese or for something that I would like to make more creamy, I'm usually using a coconut milk um, or sometimes a cashew milk. That tends to be a thicker milk as well. I also use coconut milk a lot because I have people that I cook for that have nut allergies, and coconut is a fruit, although they call it a coconut. So I use coconut milk. There are nut bases in this recipe, so at the end, if anybody has questions about nuts, definitely ask, and I can let you know. Okay. So this recipe, I always use at least 2 packets of siete seasoning, one mild, one spicy, to get that flavor. I had um, one left over that I used to make this dish earlier, so this is more like 2.5. Okay, so now I'm going to add a bag of vegan cheese. This is also BioLife. I also use Myokos for this as well. Um, like I said, more plant-based, doesn't have the extra additives um, in it. So that's why I use this brand. And with this part, I'm also gonna add my tomatoes. So for me, I noticed that regular tomatoes give me heartburn. So I only use Italian tomatoes and Roma tomatoes in my recipes because they have less acidity in them, and they have a lower pH balance. So this is actually an Italian diced tomato. Um, that I use. And this I actually got from Whole Foods, but most grocery stores sell Italian tomatoes or Roman tomatoes in a diced form. Can you open this for me? Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for Jazz while she's preparing? She can answer questions. She can multitask. She's really good.
I can. I can multitask. Yes. Yes. Yes, absolutely. Um, because that's very important to me. So I definitely included the brands of each item that I used. The question was that. What brands? Are the brands included in the recipe? Yes.
We'll have to see if we can find a copy of the recipes. The other presenters had recipes. The printouts were, so we'll have to see if we can track them down.
Okay. Okay, so these are the tomatoes. Like I said, they are Italian diced tomatoes. And for Rotel, if anybody has eaten it, you know that it has a diced tomato in it. You usually get the canned Rotel at the grocery store. And like I said, regular tomatoes um, do give me heartburn, so I do not eat them anymore. As well as this brand right here also has no additives and different things like that. And the Rotel in the store is very high in sodium and additives. So then I also add green chiles to it. This is an organic brand of green chiles. This also gives me like I said, since I'm usually catering a dish for different people, this gives me some a little kick, but not like the kick of like a jalapeno, not as spicy. Um, but will give you that flavor that you're looking for in like a queso or a nacho cheese. Mhm. Um, and then I also add a little sweetener to cut some of the spice in it. So this is date syrup. I use date syrup or coconut sugar because it's actually low glycemic. So like I said, in my family there was a lot of diabetes and different things like that, and so having high sugar items is not necessarily good. So these types of things like syrup or coconut sugar, and they also do make date sugar, are very low in actual sugar. They're natural sugars. It comes directly from a plant, and it doesn't do the same thing to your sugar levels. So that's why I use these instead of something like even like an agave, and honey isn't vegan, but things like that also affect your sugar levels as well. Not as high as just taking like a traditional sugar, but something like a syrup or a coconut sugar. I put it in the fridge, so it's a little hard. Um, it doesn't do as much, and you can take it naturally. Okay. Does anybody else have questions? Yes, great question. Okay, I actually got this one from Meyer. So they had it at Meyer. Um, they also have it at Whole Foods, but they do sell it at Meyer, and they actually sell the powdered sugar form of date syrup at Meyer too.
Hey, Jazz,
The
could you
question,
do a recap on a little bit for the people that kind of walked in late?
yes,
Just recap on what you're doing, and also, could you is everything that you're using, all your ingredients, all something you can buy locally without going online or anything?
yes, yes. The second answer is yes. All of these items I brought locally. I brought all of my items from Whole Foods, but I also do meal prepping for clients, helping people learn how to shop vegan on different budgets, different things like that. How to help people get to a vegan lifestyle. So I know how to buy certain things from different stores. So, like I was saying, there's different things here that you can find at a more local store, like a Walmart or a Meijer, that's more affordable than some place like a Whole Foods. Um, and then just a recap: this is a vegan rotel. Um, I figured out how to make this recipe from having a, a less healthier rotel growing up, and how I cook things is literally, if I have a taste for something, I'm just playing around in the kitchen to figure out how do I make that. And a lot of times it's stuff from my childhood, um, or something that I've had, and I'm just like, oh, they don't have a good vegan version for that, or like the vegan version that they have for it is super processed. So I'm like, okay, let me figure out how to do it. So this is a vegan rotel, which is a very good creamy cheese dip that is good for clearly nachos, but you can put on potato, baked potato, different things like that. So yeah. Okay, so this needs to marry together a little more. But does anybody have questions? If not, we do have some ready, so I can get us ready to serve. Yes. Yes, great question. So the potato starch, she asked, do I use it if it needs thickening up? Yes. So sometimes it might be a little more watery than you would like. I usually go about a tablespoon of potato starch or tapioca starch with a tablespoon of water. Mix it together first and then pour it in a dish, and then keep doing that by the tablespoon until I get the consistency I want. And this one is doing fine, so I didn't add it. But yes, yep, for thickening for sure. Yes, yes, yep. I would do it at the end, so like after everything marries together, and if it's still a little watery for my liking, then I would go by the tablespoon with the potato starch or tapioca starch. Yep. And not directly in, just with in a separate bowl, tapioca starch or potato starch tablespoon and a tablespoon of water. Mix it together until it's liquid and then put it in. Because if you put it in just like that, it'll just be this like clump. Yeah. Okay. Okay, we're going to get samples ready for you guys.
All right, let's. I think your crew's back here getting some samples ready, so people can just kind of line up and come up and get some. Jazz, is there anything else you want to add in your last final minutes for anybody?
Um, Well, I'm glad that you all came. I'm glad that you all came to view this. I hope that we can get those recipes to you guys. If we can't find them, Vegan Bites by Jazz on Facebook, Instagram. I have a website with my email and phone number. Just reach out to me and I'll make sure you get it. But yes, Yeah, I'm super inspired by just people in my family and just like flavors that I've had in different places. And so I hope that you try this and like it and also get a healthier alternative to everyday food.